Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So let's start off with this beauty. So as you can see, it now has a windshield in it. Look at that. Starting to look like a car. So needless to say, we put that in today and it went in without any real drama, which is always nice for a windshield. There's nothing worse than breaking a windshield when you're installing it. Luckily that doesn't really happen to us too often. I don't want to be too cocky about it because if I am, then next time we'll break one. But yeah, fingers crossed we continue to have good luck with these. This one went in relatively easy. Anyway, just gorgeous with the trim on it. Brand new windshield. Usually windshields, we just replace them even if they look really good. Kind of a safety thing, and they're almost always like scratched and stuff. So anyway, so that went in, and what else? There's a lot of wiring done here. Probably kind of hard to tell, but the flasher relay went in, and the little bracket there that it's mounted on. I think some more wiring took place on the headlight switch. The speaker went in here. Yeah, I think mostly stuff like that. More wiring. Let's see what else went in. The speedometer cable itself went in. You can see it running there through the grommet. Of course, leading to absolutely nothing right now since it's not sitting on a chassis, but there it is. Kind of dangling there, waiting for a chassis to be connected to. Let's see. Rafa spent some time preparing some of the different parts for the car for painting, like the turn signal switch, the steering wheel, which was really nice for this car. Cleaned it up, and it looked really good, but not good enough for this car. So we're going to go ahead and paint it with the correct color, and then clear coat it with automotive grade clear coat, which is of course a very hard, durable finish, so it'll stay looking good for a really long time. Nice thing is the steering wheel for this car had literally 0 cracks in it, so it's going to look good, and it should stay looking good for a really long time to come. Yeah, I got the flasher relay in. I think I mentioned that already. The front hood latch went on. You can see it there, all freshly zinc plated. And the inside mirror and sun visors. There you go. Look at that. Man, I love this car. Sorry, I probably say that like 10 times a day when I'm filming these videos, but this car, it's so freaking nice. Anyway, so yeah, those are mainly what happened on this guy today. So there you go. So let's move on to, what should we talk about here? How about this one, since that's the only other thing that I worked on today. So as you can see, and if you saw the thumbnail of the video, we actually started on the wiring today. So basically pulled the main harness, which I mentioned before on these, pretty much just runs through the car, except there's a short amount of it that runs over the back fender there that you have to kind of use the old harness to pull it through. So other than that, it pretty much runs along the floor and then pretty much comes up by the kick panel over here. So a little bit easier than that in that regard than a later car where it's running over the roof and you got to pull it through there, and it can be a little tricky sometimes, but that went in pretty easy. And then we just kind of started connecting things. Again, with these, usually we'll just pretty much like connect everything without adjusting any wire lengths or anything. Obviously try and get things fairly organized, but again, especially on these later cars where the switches have a lot of wires on them, you really have to kind of get the switches in and then get the switches wired to the fuse box. And there's a lot of these kind of connectors in here where things go from switches to these, and you almost have to like hook everything up and then go back and start adjusting wire lengths to make things look really neat. Because at this point, it can be kind of hard to tell what wires are going to be, say, a little bit too long until you get everything else connected. And then you can kind of go back and look, like, are these really going to run really neat when we get them in? Or do we need to, shorten this one a little, for example, if it's, ends up kind of like that. So kind of do that at the end. You know, like where are these exactly going to sit once they're in, so that they look neat and aren't, you know, excessively long but not too short, like stretched tight. So yeah, it's just kind of a process, but you got to pretty much go and connect everything or nearly everything and then start adjusting wire lengths. But again, we got the main harness in, we got the two headlight harnesses in, the two turn signal harnesses in, and then the back of the car. It's a good thing I'm thin so I can squeeze through here. At the back of the car, we got the two harnesses in for the tail lights, and then this black one that you can see part of here is actually the backup light harness. So we got those in, and left my needle nose pliers over here. And so that's about it on the wiring on this one. Other than that, actually what I did the first thing this morning was I went ahead and installed the master cylinder. So you can see it there, the reservoir is sitting off to the side. I just need to basically like plug that into there. But I cleaned up the front hard brake lines and installed them so they look all nice and pretty, and they're waiting for their for the brake hoses, which will go to the disc brake kit on both sides here once the front end goes back in. So yeah, other than that, I went ahead and pulled the steering box apart. The original steering box for this car, I think I mentioned yesterday, like everything else suspension wise on this car, was worn the F out. So took a nice one from our stock that we had, a nice used one. I had painted it yesterday, and then today I went ahead and pulled it apart and cleaned it all out and packed it with grease. It's working really, really nice now and should, you know, essentially last forever. So I took care of that, went ahead and got the pitman arm back on that. So this is basically ready to install in the car. Got the clamp for it here, all painted. Got the correct little locks for this hardware. Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned yesterday, I had gone and blackened all the front end hardware. So these are the bolts that hold the beam to the pan head. So I blackened all those in-house. These steering couplers, I just sandblasted them, painted them silver. Again, this is the car that we're, you know, just looking for small opportunities to save the owner a few bucks here and there. So obviously cheaper to rattle can these than to zinc plate them. So yeah, so got a bunch of hardware in here. This is the new steering coupler hardware that we get from Wolfsburg West, made by CSP. You know, something like this, you don't necessarily want to mess around with old hardware, and this hardware was pretty ugly and crummy looking, so just go ahead and put new hardware on. Also picked up from AJ over at Low Bucket a set of caster shims. This car is going to have quite a bit of rake, like a proper cowlick car, so I'm going to go ahead and throw a set of caster shims in. And let's see. So I think that is actually it for today. I'm just, you know, trying to keep these projects moving along. This one here, hopefully we'll be putting it on the body maybe in like a week or two. I'm not going to rush it, but again, I think I mentioned we do want to get this one on the body because that's going to open up a space for another restoration. A guy wants to bring in a 61 Beetle for a complete restoration, so we're hoping to open up that spot a little sooner and go ahead and let him bring his baby in for us to do our thing on. And probably go ahead and tear into this guy here too pretty soon. And yeah, we got to get on this one and that one and this one and that one. we're so busy here, so it's a good problem, but we are stretched a little thin, Rafa and I. But you know, I think we still keeping all these projects moving along at a pretty reasonable pace here. Again, we're trying to do complete restorations, including paint and body, in like a year or less, ideally. And I think we're probably on track to keep that pace up. But yeah, we'll see. We might have to bring in another guy here at some point. So anyway, that is it for today, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.